The third Easter feast or prelude, the washing mystery, recorded on Holy Thursday in the Christian calendar. And it concerns Holy Thursday, and that day is the day that celebrates the day when Jesus washed the feet of his 12 disciples, supposedly because it was an act that demonstrated humility and willingness to serve. That seems a little unnecessary in light of the fact that just 3 days, wait, one day later he would be crucified for the world. I mean, wasn't that enough service? He also had to wash feet. Well, let's look at the Gospels. What do they have to say about this event, this episode in the life of Jesus? Only one of the Gospels bothered to record it. I'll uh, I'll read some of it. The Gospel of John, chapter 13, that lucky number. Now, before the feast of Passover, Jesus, knowing that his hour had come, that he would depart from this world to the Father, um, he got up. I'm skipping to verse 4. From his supper, the feast of the Passover, laid his outer garments aside, took a towel and tied it around himself. That sounds like he's prepared for a bath. How odd. Took his outer garments aside. Apparently, he had nothing under his outer garments and had to wrap himself in a towel. Verse 5, then he poured water into the basin and began washing the disciples' feet and wiping them with the towel which he had tied around himself. All right, what's going on here? This sounds a little erotic. Is he exposing himself every time he wipes the feet of his disciples? How strange. What a strange book. Um, yeah, I insist it's a strange book. It's not me that's strange. Contrary to some of my critics. Another strange thing about this episode is that they are washing feet after dinner. Now, in my experience, people wash hands before dinner, possibly after dinner if you're eating with your hands. Why are we washing feet after dinner? Well, this is all part of the cannibal subtext. Someone is about to be sacrificed and crucified and turned into food for the world, Jesus, namely. And before we before we kill or slaughter animals, we usually wash them. And perhaps washing feet was especially important in a time when, well, as I believe, uh, cattle, not only humans, cattle were sacrificed inside churches, basilicas, cathedrals, mosques, temples of other sorts, other beautiful buildings. As odd as that might seem, that is my thesis, and I'm sticking to it as I keep piling up the evidence. It would be wise to wash the feet of, or to clean the feet of livestock before they enter the beautiful temples with their marble floors. Wouldn't want them scratched by a stone stuck between the cloven foot of a goat. Mhm. Peter, when it's his turn to be foot washed, says to Jesus, no, 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 you're not going to wash my feet. And Jesus says, oh, yes, I am. Yes, I am, because if I don't, you don't belong to my club. Um, are you washing my feet? Jesus answered and said to him, what I am doing, you don't understand. Indeed. Um, and Peter says, you shall never wash my feet. Jesus answers, if I don't wash them, you have no part with me. You're out. Geez, that's overdoing things a bit, isn't it? We're not friends unless you let me wash your feet. How do people read this stuff with halos over their eyes? I don't know. It's bizarre, bizarre stories. Anyway, Peter insists that, well, if you're going to wash my feet, please also wash my hands and my head. And well, Jesus refuses, basically says things that don't make much sense, but essentially mean, no, I'm not going to do that. Um, for the feminists out there, perhaps we should mention that washing generally is done by women. Laundry, babies, and such, generally the work of women who get no attention in or no respect for their work, not in the Bible, not in paintings, not in sculptures, nada. Here's Mary Magdalene, the alleged girlfriend of Jesus, washing his feet while he sits at quite a feast. Isn't that a nice way to spend time with your boyfriend on his last day on earth? Must wash your feet before you're crucified. And what a feast. That doesn't look like the humble feast of bread and wine that we heard about. Nope. Yeah, more paintings honoring women doing the washing. This is 1761. Is she a peasant woman? I doubt it. I doubt that the aristocracy who built their palaces and temples all over this world had their laundry done in this manner. I think it's one of the mysteries that hasn't been explored by archaeologists and and what's that other profession? Those people who build things. I want to be an architect. Those architects, yes. Did they build laundry rooms in palaces? I don't think this is how laundry was done. If they could build the amazing structures, not if, they built amazing structures with fountains and pools. So I somehow doubt all their laundry, their silks and such, some interwoven with gold thread, were washed in wooden barrels. No. Back to the Bible, Old Testament, cleaning, being clean, is a serious issue for God. The Bible has, in the King James Version, 194 mentions of the word clean. And, well, I suppose very spiritual readings or readers would insist that, It's all metaphorical. It's really about being spiritually clean, but that really isn't supported by a close look at the Bible. It's very literal in many cases, and sometimes not even, apparently, not even about humans. As the first mention in Genesis 7, of every clean beast thou shalt take to thee by sevens, the male and his female, and of the beasts that are not clean by two. Hmm. Only the clean ones God wants. What's wrong with the dirty the animals are not so dirty really, but this insistence on having clean animals suggests that we're dealing with a slaughterhouse. And I guess this is from the story about Noah's Ark. Was Noah's Ark really a slaughterhouse? Well, what did they eat? People have to eat, right? He didn't order from ordered, sorry, he didn't receive delivery of pizzas or some what's that bread Jewish people eat? I forgot. All right. Of clean beasts and of beasts that are not clean and fowls, yes. He wants more of the clean ones. Here are two interesting references to washing from Exodus chapter 29. And shall bring Aaron and his sons, someone shall bring them to the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, which is basically an early form of a synagogue. Oh, and wash them with water, wash Aaron and his sons with water. How nice, but how strange. What kind of ritual is this? Literally, physically washing them. And you shall cut the ram. Sorry, just 13 verses later, we read, you shall cut the ram in pieces and wash its entrails and its legs, and shall put them upon its pieces and upon its head. A little gruesome, maybe. What's the connection besides the word wash? Well, Aaron, being the king of the Israelites, is effectively the same or symbolically equivalent of a ram, the ram being the older male sheep, leader of the flock. The ram and Aaron are one. This is the game the Bible plays. Every animal represents a human, just as Jesus is represented by a lamb, and outside the Bible also by fish. We're dealing with a cannibal text, a very covert and subtle text that conceals a cannibal narrative. You got to wash your human victims before sacrificing them. That makes sense. There's the full chapter. Um, this is in Pakistan, I believe, a man washing his cattle. Maybe not prior to sacrifice, maybe he's just being friendly. But my point is that in the West, uh, we don't really, we're not fond of the livestock killing industry. We like to keep it discreet behind walls. And we even have laws now preventing people from documenting what happens in slaughterhouses. It's not so discreet in the third world. And I want to say before analyzing this passage that compared to us, the aristocracy that still rules this world, the aristocracy, took great pride in sacrificing animals and humans. They they are sadists, what can I say? And they glorified the sacrifice ritual, the act of sacrificing, turned it into a ritual, and greatly elaborated it um, with their fancy, elaborate structures, beautiful buildings, not just concrete walls and freezers. No, not for them. Instead of trying to be oblivious and trying to ignore what they're doing, sacrificing humans and animals, they went the other way, glorified it and ritualized it to the point that I guess it became fun for them, tolerable for them, and um, an honor. I don't know, a core of their culture. Oops, back. I wanted to mention that this is not just an issue or a topic related to Christians and Jews. The Quran, that text of the other Abrahamic religion, Islam, has similar passages. I didn't make a count of the occurrences of the word clean in the Quran, but I did locate two or three of interest. This one from Surah 2, verse 222. For God loves those who turn to him constantly, and he loves those who keep themselves pure and clean. Pure and clean. Well, I suppose pure means something spiritual. We don't want dirty minds running around the earth, polluting everyone's minds. Keep those minds clean. But clean, yeah, I think it's also literal. Muslims are fond of washing their feet before they go to their prayer halls. They're required to wash their feet. What a waste of water. And when you live in a desert, what joker gave them that religion? You live in a desert, so I'm going to want you to wash your feet, to waste water every time you pray, or at least every time you enter a mosque, prayer hall. Two other verses describe or prescribe washing, very physical. Um, their whole body here and many parts of the body there. So interesting verse numbers. 5 and 6 make 11. 4, 4, 3 make 11. That other 2, 2, 2, 2, 2 sounds like a lot of 11s. Masonic number 11. That first quotation was from Surah 2, whose title is translated into the cow. And Surah 6, I didn't take a quote from that, but it's translated as the cattle. And 5, the table spread, sometimes translated, I believe, the Last Supper. Anyway, 3 of these 6 are about food. And the first one, which I did quote, Surah 2, the cow, makes you wonder if they're laughing at us. You know, it's really everything in that surah is really about the cow. When it instructs Muslims to keep themselves clean, to wash, they're actually talking or describing washing cattle or basing that advice on the on the washing protocol prior to sacrifice. Lovely fountains in many, many mosques. the old ones especially. This one is in the Grand Mosque of Bursa in Turkey. What if it wasn't meant for washing feet? What if its original purpose was for washing livestock, human livestock included? If you could make everything so beautiful around such a horrible culture, would that make it would that make it possible and tolerable? I guess so. The beautiful Taj Mahal. Lots of fountains right down the middle. It's supposed to be a Hindu temple built by a man whose wife had died for her body, for her corpse, and um, when, upon his death, for his corpse too. He wished to join her in death. How romantic. Eugh. Um, but what if all that is just cover story for the fact that this was a giant slaughterhouse and kitchen? And this pool with its fountains was here for cleaning the cattle prior to bringing them inside for slaughter. I know it's an ugly topic, but hey, people have to eat. Even those aristocrats who built these lovely structures, they had to eat. And where else are there kitchens and slaughterhouses, if not staring us in the face? There's a Hindu temple. I apologize to the Hindus. I don't know this one's name. I neglected. But it has another set of fountains and a pool. How curious that structures belonging to different religions have the same features, pillars, domes included. It almost makes you wonder that if the same cult, culture, empire was everywhere, just using different architectural styles. Yes, isn't that what the Tartarians argue? Well, on that point, at least, I agree. Another mosque with pool and fountains. Were these built just to look at? I don't think so. I think they had a function. This one is in Istanbul at the famous Blue Mosque. And this is, we're back in France, Europe. Palais Longchamp, very elaborate fountain, and I don't know what to call this. It's part of a balcony of some sort. I bring it to your attention because, not because of the griffins, grip-ons, not because of the decapitated heads on those arches, not because of the little young people there, maybe children, naked. I bring it to your attention this time because we have two bulls here, and the three maybe aristocrats, I don't know what they represent, three humans poised above the bulls. Yes, bulls are food. These people had to eat, and they took pride in their herds, I assume. Here's a close-up. The aristocrats are here. These are the bulls, not in a very comfortable position, perhaps being washed in part by the water spilling over this boulder. Were cattle regularly washed in these in fountains and pools? Note the pool down here. And here we are at Peterhof Palace, just outside St. Petersburg, Russia. My My spirit still walks here. I was there once. And it has one of the most famous, well, perhaps the most famous set of fountains, non-mechanical, all with gravity and hydraulics. Why do they need so many fountains? Look, they're going right up the stairs there. I doubt it was just for aesthetic reasons. It probably served a function. Some beast here spewing water, fish and other beasts. Well, what function could it have served besides washing livestock? Here we have a quotation from the prophet Joel from the Old Testament. And on that day, ooh, shall drop down new wine. Oh, good. And the hills shall flow with milk. Yeah, we like dairy. And all the rivers of Judah shall run with waters. Well, isn't that what the rivers usually do? I don't think the river Jordan ever runs dry. It runs down from, oh, I don't know. And a fountain shall come forth from the house of the Lord and shall water the valley of Shittim. I think I pronounced that correctly, and I insist that's the correct pronunciation, Shittim. Well, it does hint at the possibility that the authors were thinking about defecation and the fact that fountains were also used as toilets. I mean, well, where is the toilet in Peterhof? Where is where are the toilets in Palais Longchamp? In all these beautiful places scattered on the earth, there are no toilets. And I doubt they went to wooden outhouses. No, they built from marble everything, and they must have reserved some special fountains and pools, perhaps for excretion and defecation for their shit. I know, you love my take on the Bible. Here we are again. This is still Peterhof, this long pool reminiscent of the one we saw at the Taj Mahal. Um, I guess it has fountains alongside it instead of in it. I don't know. Hmm. Quite extensive. So much water. Is it just because it looks nice? Even, look, that's what we just saw, but behind Peterhof Palace, we have one, two, is that a pool? That looks like a pool. Possibly five pools. I don't recall. It's been many years. I don't know if I made it to the back side. Why would they have so many pools? And gardens. Well, people need to eat. These gardens no longer produce food, but I believe the old aristocracy before the reset of some 1 to 200 years ago, at that time, this garden, this estate would have produced food, and the pools, perhaps fish, as the Bible even mentions, the fish pool in the book of Nehemiah. Yeah, food. The Bible is really about food, uh, so much of it anyway. And here is their former Pope Francis washing the feet of 12 female prisoners in honor of the day Jesus washed the feet of his 12 disciples. I'm not sure the disciples would be flattered by the suggestion that they are the equivalent of 12 women who are criminals. Probably not if they ever existed. Now, this is again, as in the case of Jesus, supposed to show that the Pope is very humble and is our servant, a servant of criminals. Yeah, that makes more sense. Um, but I suspect he knows, or at least his handlers know, that this ritual is based on the ritual of washing livestock. So those poor women are being mocked. Your feet are being washed before your sacrifice. Well, I don't think they're on death row, but it's a mockery ritual, and they don't know. This is a chorale. Um, oh, you'll know why I brought it to your attention in a moment. It's semicircular shape. Curious. It's a place for holding cattle. I guess they're somehow funneled through the in here and then out of here. I'm not sure what the process is. Here's another one, these gates. It's like being at an airport, right? The good livestock passing through an airport, all those lines and lines. Or is it like going to IKEA? Well, any place with lines, schools. Yeah, look at that. Look at that. We have the semicircular wall and lines, two semicircular colonnades at St. Peter's Square in the Vatican in Rome. Isn't that nice? Two huge fountains. Was this a place where cattle were brought? 100 cattle, perhaps? It's big enough, as you can see. The scale of it is enormous. These are little people. The Bible does talk about holocausts in the original meaning, a sacrifice of 100 cattle. And Homer's works also make much ado about holocausts. The gods want holocausts. They want hundreds of cattle sacrificed to them. This would be a good place to do that. I mean, where else would they do it? Where else could they have done it? We don't know of um, Roman classical Gothic buildings that are explicitly slaughterhouses, abattoirs, and kitchens. You need big kitchens for these people. Big, grandiose kitchens. That's how everything in their world was grandiose. And here is the humble washing of a cow in Pakistan, I believe. This is closer to how we deal with our livestock. The third world people are just not quite as discreet and sensitive as we are. They don't mind a little blood. We've become a little sensitive, a little very much in denial. Here we have a giant fountain on St. Peter's Square. What on earth is the purpose of such an enormous fountain? If it wasn't for this lower pool and its walls, cattle could walk around and be washed by the gentle flowing of this fountain. You can't even reach it to splash your hand in it. You couldn't even throw, yeah, well, you could throw a coin in there, but you wouldn't see it. How curious. I wonder what those friezes are. I must visit one day, and or not. Maybe that's another one here. We get a better look at the wall. I suspect these posts, crude posts, were not there originally, and perhaps the entire lower pool was not there originally. There's that beautiful obelisk with its new ornament on the top. As I've argued somewhat convincingly elsewhere, these obelisks represent the hypodermic needles used by the aristocracy and ad, for their adrenochrome injections. Funny word, adrenochrome. Must look at that more closely later. Um, yeah, we're almost at the end. Oh, I forgot. No, this will do. Um, a funny note. Electrocution victims often defecate and urinate, both during the event and at the moment of death. This occurs during a combination of intense physiological reactions to electricity and the general process of dying. The spasm forces out contents of the bowels and bladder. I've heard, I think I could confirm that people who are hung or hang themselves also empty their bowels and bladders. So, why do I mention this? My last note on washing, my last mystery explained. Here we have an image of Jesus being pierced, killed. Yes. And there's a stick with a sponge soaked in vinegar moving towards his mouth, allegedly because Jesus wanted to drink something. But I propose that this is all based on slaughterhouse ritual. After the beast, animal, human, is killed, um, it does spontaneously defecate, make a mess, a stick and a sponge soaked in vinegar, a good antiseptic and cleaning substance, was applied to the anal area, in this case to the mouth. That's the wrong orifice, but it's all based on slaughterhouse ritual. That's the last prelude to the Easter Feaster special. Um, I will release the Easter Feaster specials very soon. If you haven't been disturbed by my three preludes, if you haven't been forced to stop and think, rethink religion and the past by my first, by my three preludes, you surely will if you see the Easter Feaster special coming soon. You can reach me at, where can you reach me? At Prophet of Fiction at proton.me. Well, that will do for today.